Hey guys, Flute Ninja here, and I know a lot of you are waiting for episode 7 of my Chicken Little Let's Play, but I'm going to take a little break from that for right now, and I'm just going to go ahead and do something that I haven't done since my top 15 films of 2017, and that's another countdown list. This time, I'm going to be doing a list of my top 10 favorite fighting games. I was originally going to save this list for in honor of MK11's release, but since I don't know much about the release date yet, I decided to do it right now in a celebration for next week's Smash Ultimate release, which is, like I said, is coming out next week. Now, before I start the countdown, I have a little restrictions to make my list differ from the Green Scorpions. Now, obviously, the two rules, only one game in the franchise, and only games I've played, so as much as I want to put Injustice 1 or 2 on the list, I can't because I haven't played them yet. Just last Saturday, I recently got a Nintendo Switch, and no, I'm not buying it because of Smash Ultimate. That's not the reason why I bought a Switch. It's just that because it was so popular right now, I decided to get one, and the only Switch game that I owe was Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, despite the fact that, Super Mario Odyssey was the game that got me to get a Switch. And because I recently bought the Switch, don't expect ARMS to be on the list. Either. And lastly, don't expect any fighting games that came out this year, like Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Is it Dragon Ball Fighter Z or Dragon Ball Z Fighters? Whatever. Dragon Ball Z Fighter Z, BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, My Heroes Injustice. Don't expect any of those games to be on the list because they were not released by the time I finalized the countdown. But with that being said, sit back and count down my 10 favorite fighting games of all time. Number 10. Tekken 6. It was really hard for me to pick which Tekken game I liked more, this one or Tekken Tag Tournament 2. But I decided to go with this one because even though Tekken Tag Tournament 2 is loved by fans, there's just one mechanic I could not stand in that game. And that was the fact that even though you play two characters, you lose a round if just one of them is defeated, which is one reason why Street Fighter Cross Tekken disappointed me. But anyways, back on top here. So Tekken 6 is my favorite in the series. I haven't played Tekken 7 yet because shut up. But one thing that I like about Tekken 6, I like the characters. The music is alright. But the reason why it's not any higher is because of two things. One, the campaign mode could have been better. And two, it gave us one of the cheapest fighting game bosses in video game history. Azazel. Oh my fucking god, I fucking hate that boss so much. I mean, it has so many cheap attacks. The teleport drop, the lasers, almost all of its attacks are unblockable. And Jesus Christ, I cannot stand that boss. But with that being said, I do like the speed of this game. I like the characters a lot. I think it has a good roster. And this was the game that got me into the Tekken series. And I do have to thank my friend Juan for playing this game with him. So yeah, Tekken 6. You haven't played it yet? Go fix that. Number 9. Naruto Clash of Ninja Revolution 1. Yeah, the moment that I was going to be doing a fighting games countdown, you knew that there was going to be some anime games on this list because, let's face it, anime, fighting game, how can you go wrong with that? And besides, most anime shows that get turned into a game are usually fighting games. So, and Naruto is no exception. And of every Naruto game that I've played, Clash of Ninja Revolution 1 has always been my favorite. I have played the second game, and though I don't think it's as good as the first one, I still enjoyed it. And I have played the third game, and I thought that one was a piece of shit. And I did play Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 2, but the reason why I picked this one over that one, the story mode. Oh no, don't get me wrong. Ninja Storm 2 has a really good story mode, but Hub Worlds? Really? Why couldn't it just be like Naruto Clash of Ninja Revolution 1, where you go to fight? And believe it or not, guys, this is what actually got me into the Naruto anime. Yeah, I had no idea what Naruto was back then, until I played this game. But after playing the game, I actually decided to watch the Naruto series, and even though I hated the 80 episode filler arc, it was a pretty enjoyable series. But this game, one thing that I kind of like about the game was that it was for 4 players, kind of like another fighting game that we're going to see later on the list. Like, a 4-player Naruto game on the Wii? I was hooked into it. And the way this game, like the way the gameplay is, that is one gameplay style that I really hope returns in future fighting games. Like, I think Naruto Clash of Ninja Revolution 1, and I'm not sure what other game has this style, but I think this is the only one I've played that uses this style. And another thing that I like about this game over the second one, I think the voice quality is much more cleaner, is the way I want to say it. Like if you own Revolution 1 and Revolution 2, perform Neji's 8 trigrams to Palm, and between the two, I can guarantee the way he says in the first game is much better than the way he said in the second game. But one thing that's not any higher, I kind of will admit that the game is slightly unbalanced. Like, I think Rock Lee... No, I don't know. Not Rock Lee, but maybe another character that I know about. Like, some of these abilities are like health drainers. Like, Sasuke's Fireball, any character with a fire breath, I think is like a little health drainer. And one thing that I don't like about is that the specials or the chakras or the jutsus that they perform are most of the time are unblockable, which is kind of stupid since every fighting game that I've played has ultras or supers that are blockable. But those are just little nitpicks. And the way the story was executed from the first couple episodes of the original Naruto series, I thought it was really good. And I really liked the feature. How like each mission has a different objective depending on the difficulty you're playing. And for the first game for the first Naruto game of the Wii, I think it really has a good roster, being 20 characters. So yeah, Naruto Clash of Ninja Revolution 1. Good game. Really love the fact that it's 4 players. Play it, but avoid the third game at all cost. Number 8. BlazBlue Chrono Phantasma. Well, to be fair, the only BlazBlue game that I owe as of right now is Continental Shift, the extended version, but I did play Phantasma over with a group of friends during Juan's birthday. I don't remember how old he was, but I remember we played it a lot in a birthday mashup. So we can't talk about fighting games without talking about the champion of fighting games that took down Capcom, Arc System Works. And BlazBlue is no exception to this. I think it's the most popular series that Arc System has ever made. I mean, you got kick-ass characters like Ragnar the Blood Edge, Jin Kazuaki, I think his last name is pronounced. Anyways, you got the Squirrel Girl, Makoto? Yeah, I'm not really I'm not a really super huge BlazBlue fan, but I can But that is no excuse for me not to miss out on any of the games because this is one series that I kind of regret missing out on, and if it wasn't for Chrono Phantasma, I wouldn't have been a fan of it. One thing that I like about this game, or the combos that you can do in this game, all the characters, the roster. Yeah, I think roster and characters are probably the reason why I like these fighting games a lot. And the fact that it has like an anime art style to it, man, that is one thing I could gush over Arc System, is their graphics and the art style they possess. I mean, BlazBlue, again, no exception. I love the art style, I love the characters that they brought in, even though some of them kinda are a little underwhelming, but I just love everything about BlazBlue, and you can't talk about BlazBlue without mentioning its soundtrack, or any Arc System Works games without the soundtrack, because, oh my god, BlazBlue Chrono Phantasma has an awesome soundtrack that I could just gush over. Like, I want to marry the soundtrack. So again, BlazBlue Chrono Phantasma, favorite BlazBlue game of all time, but it is not my favorite Arc System Works fighting game. Number 7 is... Number 7, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. Now, I want to make a little clarification. I'm not a big RPG player. I mean, RPGs are something I don't play. Like, the only RPG I've played as of today is the Persona series. And before anyone asks, yeah, I did play some Final Fantasy games, Final Fantasy IV being my favorite. But Persona is my all-time favorite RPG series. And the thing is, and I have played a little bit more RPG series before, but Persona was the one that stuck out to me the most. And when I heard that there was going to be a Persona fighting game, that alone got me hyped. I sadly haven't played the first Arena game, but I did play the Ultimax, and holy goddamn did I have a blast with this one. I had to admit something. Out of all the fighting games on this list, this one probably has to be the easiest one to do combos. Well, second easiest to do combos with. I mean, I honestly think this game has a better soundtrack than Chrono Phantasma, especially the main theme, Break You Out, which just sounds so glorious. And in all seriousness, this game did kind of introduce me to one of my favorite characters of all time, Sho Minazuki. And why is that? Well, let's just say that Sho Minazuki, this guy right here with the red hair, this guy right here, he's basically an example of a fighting game boss that isn't cheap. I mean, seriously, do you know how rare it is to find a fighting game where the boss isn't just a cheap-ass character to fight against? I mean, in all seriousness, he's probably the most fairest fighting game boss I have ever played. But still boggles my mind how a Persona form is a separate character? Huh? I mean, I guess they wanted to play the whole one side thing, but it's still kind of weird. But there are some things that kept it from going any higher. First off, the story, it kind of sucked. And secondly, the idea of having characters with shadows as playable kind of sounded like a good idea, but... yeah, I didn't like... but, it wasn't something that I could get into. But yeah, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, oh my god. If you haven't played this game, just do yourself a favor and pick it up. There is so much you are missing out on Arc System Works. Like, they are seriously the champion of fighting games. Granted, that BlazBlue tag team bullshit was bullshit. DLC bullshit. What am I trying to say? That BlazBlue tag team DLC was bullshit, but I've heard people say that's not too bad, but... I'm not going to believe it until I see it with my own eyes. Number 6. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Now, we can't have a fighting game list without a Street Fighter game, because this was pretty much the game that got everybody into fighting games. And Third Strike happens to be my favorite of the series. And yes, I know Ultra Street Fighter 4 has more characters than Third Strike, but you know what? Street Fighter 3 Third Strike happens to appeal me more because of its art style, its characters that Capcom has forgotten, and I will admit, it did introduce another cheap-ass fighting boss, that being Gil. But in all seriousness, I don't think he's as cheap as Azazel. Trust me, I faced worse. But with that being said, I really can't stand fighting against Gil because of his bullshit moves, the fact that he has 3 super arts where you can only carry 1. But with that being said, I honestly think Street Fighter 3 Third Strike has the best amount of characters in any Street Fighter game. And I'm not talking about roster. Like, these characters, all of them, they kind of kick ass in some sort of way. Especially Sean, who happens to be my favorite Street Fighter character of all time. I was still bummed out that Street Fighter V did not include him as a playable character, and yet they put him in the story mode? That's bullshit. No, seriously, Capcom. I need this guy returned in future Street Fighter games. Assuming a Street Fighter 6 gets made, but seriously, you need to bring this character back. Now, there's more that I have to talk about this game. Well, like I said, I love its art style. I love the soundtrack. I think everybody has some unique moves, especially their super arts. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And I'm so happy that this got brought back in the Street Fighter Collection game. I don't remember what it was called, but I remember it was like a collection of games. Number 5, King of Fighters 11. Now, I'll be honest. This and KOF 2001 are the only 2 King of Fighters games I've played to date. Yeah, I know there's a lot I'm missing about King of Fighters, but I had to go with what I had. And KOF 11 is what excelled me more than KOF 2001. Like, first off, I love the fact that it does a better job with this thing where if all 3 of your party members are down, you lose the match. That is something that that I can actually deal with. I don't like that tag team bullshit in Tekken Tag Tournament 2. But anyway, talking about a little off top here. I really love the King of Fighters 11. It's my favorite in the series so far. I know I haven't played a lot of those games lately, but because of the games that I owe, I wasn't really able to catch up on these. So this is one series that I definitely need to catch up on. But of the King of Fighters, but I honestly think King of Fighters 11 stood out to me because of its speed and its unique moveset. And the characters are all of them except for one are actually kind of likable. And that one exception is, of course, the fighting game boss Makaki. Do I think he's as cheap as Azazel? Probably. But, you know, fighting game bosses are not an excuse on why I should miss out on fighting games. That's just not my thing. And if it wasn't... And to be fair, I kind of think that SNK is a better fighting company than Capcom. And even though I said that Arc System Works is the grand champion of fighting games, I still think SNK is my favorite of the 3. And speaking of SNK, number 4, Capcom versus SNK 2. You know, it was either this or Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but I think Capcom vs. SNK 2 stuck out to me more. And one reason is because of its soundtrack. I kind of find Marvel vs. Capcom's 2 soundtracks to be kind of forgettable with the exception of the Carnival stage and the Desert stage. But the music in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 just didn't fit well with me. Capcom vs. SNK 2, on the other hand, its soundtrack was just mind-blowing to me. Though, there's kind of one reason why it didn't make the top 3, and that is because of the Capcom side. I know that Street Fighter is basically Capcom's fighting game mascot, but did we really need a lot of Street Fighter characters? Like, seriously, of the 24 characters in the Capcom universe, I think only 4 of them are from different series. Actually, two of them are from a different series because even though Maki and Rolento originated from Final Fight 2, Final Fight is kind of canon to the Street Fighter universe. And Guy and Cody has been showing up in recent Street Fighter games. So if you count that, then only 2 characters are from different series who are not from Street Fighter. But then again, Rival School... My friend Maurice told me that Rival School is kind of canon to the Street Fighter universe because, you know, Sakura is in Rival Schools. So, okay, 1 character is not from the Street Fighter universe. But the SNK side, really, I think the SNK side has an impressive roster. It's not characters from the King of Fighters series. You have characters from the Fatal Fury series, Last Blade, even though I haven't played that game yet. The Samurai Showdown games. Yeah, if you want to call this an SNK game, this is my favorite SNK game of all time. And my favorite Capcom crossover game of all time. The characters, even though there's a lot of Street Fighter characters, the soundtrack, the announcer is kind of hilarious at times, and the art style to the stages. Man, I love the art style to the stages, especially the Alamori stage, with E-Honda and Harumu as the parade floats. And I know who the third one is, but I could never get his name right. But yeah, hands down the best Capcom crossover game of all time. But it's not my favorite crossover game of all time. Ooh, trust me, we're gonna get to that one later. Number 3, Mortal Kombat 9. Or Mortal Kombat 2011. Well, because people call it Mortal Kombat 9, I'm gonna call it like that. Anyone who has watched my channel knows I play a lot of Mortal Kombat 9. Hey, I have done a lot of ladders, 32 solo, 16 tag, 5 combo videos, and all 16 chapters of the story mode. Which, for a fighting game, probably has one of the best story modes of all time. And not only that, but luckily, I have the PS3 version. And why do I say luckily? Because if you can see on the top right-hand corner, PS3 owners, I'm not sure about PS Vita because I never played the PS Vita version, is allowed to play Kratos from the God of War series. And they have modes that will have you spend a lot of time on. I mean, they have Test Your Sight, Test Your Might, Test Your Strike, Test Your Luck, with Test Your Luck being my favorite of the 4. And the fact that it can be played with 4 players, none of the style of Naruto Clash of Ninja Revolution 1, none of that style, but the fact that it introduces tag team, in which you can play as 4 characters. Oh, wait, what am I saying? You can play up to 4 players, 1 character individually. Man, that just blew my mind, and I had to give props to the cinematic trailer. That has, the Mortal Kombat 9 cinematic trailer has to be one of my favorite cinematic trailers in all time, next to Batman Arkham Origins. This game would have taken the #1 spot, but these next 2 games on the list, they barely beat to it. But I cannot gush over how much I love Mortal Kombat 9. With its characters, its story mode, the additional modes. Man, if you haven't gotten this game, get it. Especially PS3 owners. But if I were you, I recommend you get the complete edition and not as the standalone game. That way you don't have to buy all the DLC since everything has been unlocked for you. And for those wondering, I have played MK10. I just don't think it's as good as Mortal Kombat 9. But hopefully here's to MK11, which I hopefully will bring back Tag Team, because that is like one feature that Mortal Kombat 11 needs to bring back. I was slightly disappointed that 10 didn't bring it back. Number 2, Super Smash Bros. 4! Either version, Wii U or 3DS. I currently own the 3DS version as of right now. But I have played the Wii U version, and honestly, I couldn't pick which version is better, so I decided to put both versions in, because they pretty much share the same roster, and yeah, even though each of them have their own exclusive modes, they play pretty much the same, in terms of characters, and the fighting mechanics, things that they improved from Brawl. And because Smash Ultimate is coming out next Friday, I thought this would be a little honor to them, because until Smash Ultimate comes out, this is going to be my most recent release as of right now. I mean, the fact that this has to be the best crossover series of all time. The fact that it combines many iconic series from video game history. Mario, Pokemon, Fire Emblem, Kirby, Star Fox, Sonic the Hedgehog, Final Fantasy VII, Street Fighter, Bayonetta. All those franchises, well, at least one character from each franchise in there, makes it the ultimate crossover game of all time. I really have nothing else to say about this game. I mean, it's very different from other fighting games. Like, it's not like, oh, there's the health bar? Wait, where's the health bar? No, the main objective, you have to beat your opponent off the stage in order to claim a point. Yeah, I mean, whoa, haven't seen that yet. That actually blew my mind the first time I played the Super Smash Bros. Series. I didn't even know the N64 had one. Here's the thing. Even though I have played Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Melee was actually the first one I played. And I haven't played N64, but I'm really planning on to, even though that the sequels are much better. Brawl, it is a little slow in terms of combat, and unfortunately I'm a little too late on the Project M mod. But, to give credit, it did give us this game, which fixed almost every problem that we had with Brawl. The speed is much faster, characters got more balance, the fact that you can make fighters off your Mii, even though there are recycled moves from other fighters, it just blows my mind how much content Super Smash Bros. 4 has. So, what is one fighting game that I preferred over this one? Well, I'll tell you, but first, let me slide down to some honorable mentions. So I'll give you a quick 5-second, 10-second to read all of them, and then we're moving on. Alright, time's out, let's move on. Alright, guys. I'm gonna bet money right now that you all knew what number 1 was going to be. This was an obvious no-brainer, hands down. Before I made this list, I knew what number 1 was going to be. And believe it or not, this was actually the game that got me into the fighting genre, despite the fact that it started off as something else. So, which fighting game is that? Well, you haven't seen it on the list yet, so let's reveal it. My favorite, or the best, fighting game for my number 1 pick is Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. What can I say about this game that hasn't been said by the entire Dragon Ball community? This is hands down the best Dragon Ball Z game ever made. Not only that, I think it's possibly the best fighting game ever made. And there is so much I have to talk about this game. First, let's get the negatives out of the way. The story mode, I wish it was a little longer, considering that this game's story mode is much shorter than Tenkaichi 2. But, it's still decent enough, to get Dragon Balls and all that stuff, and to win Zenny. And another thing I didn't like about the story mode, there was this one feature that was only exclusive to story mode. It was this one clash where when 2 players crash into each other with the homing dash, they teleport behind, and then the objective was to press a certain button before your opponent does. I have been confused for years, how the hell do I perform that clash? Someone help me! Only to find out that years later, it was only exclusive to story mode. For Dragon Ball Z fighting games, particularly 3D ones, that is one clash that they need to bring back for future Dragon Ball Z 3D fighting games, and not make it a story mode exclusive feature. But both of those are very minor nitpicks, and that's where all the negatives end. Everything else is positive from here on out. The character roster. Jesus Christ. It may not have the biggest roster in video game history or fighting game history, but it does have one of the biggest. How many characters is that? 161 playable characters. I know there are transformations that go to certain characters, but people like myself kind of see them as individual characters, so they kind of count. But 161 characters, damn! And yes, I know what people are going to say, well, there's a fighting game that has 200 playable characters. Well, that was only a Japan exclusive title, and North America never got it, so I really can't judge on that. But I will say that it has the biggest fighting game roster in America. I mean, you have all the staple characters, the original Dragon Ball series, Kid Goku, Aurelia, General Blue, the Dragon Ball series covering all 4 sagas, and the movies, Cooler, Frieza, Goku, Vegeta, Kid Gohan, Teen Gohan, Adult Gohan. We even got characters from the shitty-ass Dragon Ball GT universe, the Super Saiyan 4 transformations, Pan, all those characters. My god, is this game so amazing! And the music, oh my god, the music. I love the music in this game so much! Especially Wild Rush and Burning Up. Oh god, I could listen to those songs for hours and it can never get repetitive! Oh, and this cover, oh my god, this cover has to be a badass cover right here. I mean, you got Goku trying to go fire his Kamehameha, and then you have Vegeta, Krillin, Kid Trunks, Goten, Piccolo, Android 18. This game has it all! So yeah, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Hands down my favorite fighting game of all time. And hands down the best fighting game of all time. If you guys have a different opinion on what you think are the best fighting games, please leave them in the comments below. And if you would, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I'm the Flute Ninja, and I'll see you all in episode 7 of Let's Play Chicken Little. Word out.